Hey, Pretty Girl Club. Welcome to the Childfree series. I've been wanting to talk about this for a long time. By the way, if you are not child-free or if you're pro-children, please do not watch this video because anyone who argues will be banned. My channel is a safe space where I can express my unpopular opinions. And my unpopular opinion is that a lot of women only have children to solve their own emotional needs. And I know this because whenever I've asked women, just generally speaking, when I ask them, why did you have kids or why do you want kids? They'll say things like, oh, because I wanted a family. Okay, and why do you want a family? And they can't even articulate why they want a family. And by the way, anytime somebody says, oh, I just want kids because I want a family, okay, what does that mean? A family represents emotional support. So they're literally admitting that they only wanted kids because they wanted the emotional support of those children. And this is why when you see kind of those toxic mothers, part of why they're toxic is because they birthed those children so that the children could meet their emotional needs. That's why you see some moms who hate their own daughters, because anytime that daughter starts to form her own identity, she has her own opinions that are different than her mother's, she's not emotionally available to the mother, then you'll see the mother actually retaliate against her own children. Or she no longer wants to be around her own children. And it's like, okay, what happened? I thought you wanted a family so bad. Why are you so happy when your kids go away to grandma's? Why are you so happy when your kids go away for the summer? Why are you so happy that the kids are going to live with their dad now? It's because you didn't actually want a family. You just wanted emotional support. Another reason that I hear women say for why they want kids is, oh, I wanted to have a child because I wanted to be a mom. Okay, so you had a child for social status. You wanted to have the societal title of being a mother because you wanted to be associated with the positive qualities of being a mother, such as being caring, being nurturing, being a good leader, being someone who's protective, someone loving. So that's not a legit reason to have a kid, in my opinion. It's like, okay, you just wanted a social title. This is about social status. You became a mother so you could social climb. That's literally what it is. Oh, by the way, another crazy ass reason that I've heard some women say they want kids, they'll be like, oh, I want to have a kid so I can teach the child certain morals and, I want to be able to mentor the child. So that sounds good on the surface, right? But it's like, wait a minute. Out of all of the 7 billion people that are already on this earth that you could potentially be mentoring, you're telling me that you're such a horrible mentor that nobody that already exists wanted you to mentor them. So now you have to go and birth a random innocent human being and make it so that they are now forced to be your mentee in order to have food and shelter, because you know that children are naturally dependent. So that's actually one of the craziest reasons I've ever heard, because it's like, okay, so you failed at becoming a leader in society. You failed at becoming a mentor for the people who already exist on this earth. So much so to the point where now you want to birth a child so you can force somebody to listen to you. You want to birth a child so you feel powerful. That's another thing too. Some women only have kids because they want to finally have a form of social power. Because when you're a parent, it's your rules. Whatever you say goes. So a lot of women, they're only having kids because they're on a power trip. They want to finally feel like they're a leader. They feel overlooked or underestimated by society. And so they want to have kids because then they finally get to tell somebody what to do. And it's like, sis, if you were truly a good leader already, if you were already good at teaching and mentoring, you would have something to show for it in your real life. So that's why I've seen some of these women where they have kids and they're extremely controlling over their kids. They want to pressure their kids to go to school. They want to pressure their children to turn out a certain way. And then they'll be like, oh, well, I'm just trying to make sure that my child doesn't repeat the same mistakes as me. But it's also like, okay, so now you're having a child because you went through traumas and you're hoping that the child can help you work through your traumas. So again, that's a horrible reason to have a child. You're still looking to your child to kind of be your therapist. It's almost like the child's life and that child's accomplishments become your version of restitution or revenge. It's like, yeah, I succeeded because, even though I was a bum, even though I was a dusty, my child is now rich and famous. So now I feel cool. And it's like, okay, you're still externalizing your self-esteem. All of your identity is found in that child. So that's still an emotionally codependent relationship. So this is why I say that a lot of women, I feel like a lot of them have kids out of codependency. And that leads me to my next point. The women who say that they want to have a child because their boyfriend or their husband wanted a child. So once again, you're just blindly following this man. So because he claims that he wants a baby, now you're just going to give him a baby because he said so. So now your body is not even your own. Your body now belongs to this man. Your womb belongs to this man, and you're just blindly doing that because he wants a baby. Or some women will have babies as like a manipulation tactic. So they have a baby because they want to have access to that man forever. They're trying to force access into a man's life, knowing damn well that that man doesn't want anything to do with them. But they're hoping to gain back some of that leverage. Some women only have babies so they can have leverage. So you know the women that have babies so they can get paid by the government, or they have babies so they can get certain benefits, or they have a baby so they can get like the child support, or they can get the attention of a man. All of those things are forms of leverage. So she did not have leverage on her own. She didn't have leverage as a woman just by herself. She didn't have any independent form of power. So she had to birth an entire innocent child so she can use that child as a pawn. And so this actually gets on my nerves whenever I see mothers where they talk crap about their baby daddy to their child. It's like, okay, but sis, you are the one that wanted to have the baby. Like, there's no point in doing that. There's no point in talking crap about your baby's father to your child, because all that does is makes you look dumb. Because then the child is going to look at you like, okay, then why did you birth me? If dad is so dusty and he's such trash, why did you have me with him? Like, why did you choose him as my father? A lot of mothers, they have a hard time understanding this. A lot of mothers, they have a hard time understanding that a child is a future adult. I'm convinced that if we were to stop calling babies babies, like if we got rid of the word baby and we started calling them future adults, so many more women would be child-free, because they would have to face the reality that that child will one day look at you as their parent and they will judge you. They will judge your life. A lot of mothers don't realize that they are living their life in front of an audience. Your child is watching the decisions you make. Your child sees all of your hypocrisy. Your child sees all of the double standards where it's like you tell them they can't do something, but then they see you doing the same thing. So a lot of mothers, they end up regretting having their kids, because once those kids get older, they're like, hey, wait a minute, you're actually a crappy person, mom. And it's hilarious how some mothers, they'll be like, oh, well, my kids, they don't call me, they don't talk to me. Anytime I see a toxic parent-daughter relationship, or like a child-parent relationship where the child has gone no contact, I instantly blame the parent, because it's like, you chose to birth that child. That child did not ask to be born. They didn't ask to be born. They certainly didn't ask for you to be their parent. So how are you going to birth somebody and then you are so detached from their emotional needs? You're so selfish and detached from your own child's emotional needs to the point where you will abuse them and like push them away to the point where they want nothing to do with you. Do you know how terrible of a person you have to be for that to even happen? And then for the parents who say, oh, well, my child is just mentally ill. Okay, I still feel like that's part of the parent's responsibility. If you have a child that is developing mental illness, that's something that should be checked on. That's a part of healthcare. You know how some parents, they don't even teach their kids hygiene. They don't take their kids to the doctor or the dentist. So having a mental illness, that means that you did not care about that child's mental health enough when they were younger. So you essentially neglected that child's mental health, and then you want to go and cry about it 10 years later when the child is a sociopath. You want to turn around and act shocked that the child was mentally messed up when you're the one who birthed the child. You're the one who saw the signs of them being messed up. A lot of like ADHD, autism, bipolar, sociopath, manic depression, those symptoms can be seen in children and teenagers. So any parent who tries to make it like, oh, I didn't know they were mentally ill, they just started acting like that later. No, I still give those parents the side eye, because I'm like, okay, you were not keeping up with that child's mental and emotional health. You neglected that child's emotional health when they were younger. And it always blows my mind how some women just assume that they're going to be a good mother. I'm like, wait a minute. So you have no experience parenting. You have no experience doing this at all, no experience giving birth, no experience raising children, but you somehow think that you're just going to birth a child and that it's just going to be all smooth sailing and it's just going to be all perfect. No, that's idiotic to me. That makes no sense. If I've never done something in my life, why would I assume that I'm going to be good at it? And for the people who read a couple of books and stuff, they're like, "Oh, I read 5 books about how to raise daughters." Okay, even if I read 5 books on a particular subject, I still don't consider myself to be an expert in that subject. Reading a couple of books, that's nothing. That's just beginner level. You're just getting information about it at that point. And another thing that a lot of women don't talk about is how a lot of women actually regret having children. I have never come across a woman, for the most part, most of the women I come across, they regret something about their child. They either regret a part of how they parented the child, they regret who they had the child with, they regret the timing of having that child. Some women are like, "Oh, I wish I finished college. I wish I would have had more money." So I've rarely come across a woman who had a child who did not regret anything whatsoever for the entire 18 years. She never regretted any of her parenting habits, never regretted allowing her child to hang out with certain people, never regretted anything about it. I haven't seen it. So this whole lie that a lot of mothers try to sell, where it's like, "Oh, being a mother is like the best thing in the world." First of all, that's hierarchy thinking. So anytime somebody tries to use hierarchy thinking as their main talking point, that's when I know that they're bullshitting and projecting. So if you come on my channel and you're like, "Oh, being a mother is the best thing you could ever be," that's false. That's false. No, that's the best thing you have ever been, because maybe you didn't have any other social achievements or emotional fulfillment in your own life. And so if being a mother is the best thing that you could have been, that's fine, but you're not a representation of all women. So just like how it's valid for you to like have children, it's also valid for some women to not have children. And I've also heard some women say, "Oh, I'm going to have a child because I really love my husband a lot, and the child is a representation of my love for my spouse." Oh, doesn't that sound romantic? Okay, but that's still not a good reason, because it's like, wait a minute. So you only birthed me as a symbol of your love to dad? So it had nothing to do with you valuing me as a human being. You're just birthing me as essentially an accessory to your marriage. So I'm an accessory to your marriage. I'm an accessory to your relationship. I'm an accessory of your love for so-and-so. That's no different than somebody buying a wedding ring. A wedding ring is just a symbol of love. It's symbolic. It is a material object. So anytime I hear a woman say, "Oh, I just had a child because I just loved him so much, and so I just wanted to express my love." Okay, that's a human being though. That's not, you don't use human beings as an expression or a symbol of something. Your baby is not a diamond ring. Your baby is not a bouquet of flowers. So why are you having a baby just as a representation that you love this man? That's still not a good reason, because it's like you're literally overlooking all of the actual responsibilities that come with having a child. And that's another thing too. A lot of women have magical thinking, which is a form of mental illness. So we talk a lot about magical thinking on this channel. So it's almost like some women feel like having a baby, it's kind of like the good luck charm in their relationship. Like, "Oh, if we just have a baby, then we will have this beautiful family unit." So that's magical thinking. You're fantasizing about what it's like to have a baby. You have a cupcake and lollipop version of motherhood. And so you're trying to manifest it. It's like toxic positivity, basically. A lot of women, they don't think about the baby's tantrums or the baby crying or what it's going to be like if the baby has a mood swing. And by the way, another extremely unpopular opinion that I have about children, I actually believe that children are naturally abusive to their parents. And children don't know, like the reason that I'm saying that they're naturally abusive is because children don't know. They literally don't know how to be selfless yet. They don't know how to manage their emotions yet. That's why they lash out. That's why they throw things, or, they curse at their parents and stuff, because they're naturally kind of mentally ill, just because they don't know what it's like to be mentally healthy. So why would I voluntarily birth a human being who is naturally going to be selfish, naturally going to be ungrateful, naturally going to devalue me as their mother? Because by the way, that's a part of childhood. That's a part of growing up. When you're a kid, you don't know the value of $1 yet. You don't know the value of having your mother. So it's very normal for children to take advantage of their parents. It's normal for children to take their parents for granted. So a lot of women, they will have a child and then they'll get mad when that child takes them for granted. And it's like, sis, he's 5 years old. Of course he takes you for granted. He literally doesn't know what it means to be selfless. He doesn't know yet how to manage his emotions. All he wants to do is survive and have fun and have his needs met. And that's another thing. Why would I want to birth someone into this world who is constantly pulling at my emotions, constantly pulling resources from me, constantly pulling at my mental health, crying for hours a day, throwing tantrums, having sensory issues? That's another thing too. A lot of children are not used to being stimulated a lot. So sometimes if you bring a toddler into like an airport or you bring them to an amusement park, they get really moody. They're in a bad mood because some children are sensitive to overstimulation. So they don't actually like going to the circus. They don't like being around all the roller coasters and stuff. That's why sometimes, have you ever noticed that if you go to a crowded place with a lot of lights, a lot of music, a lot of commotion, usually there's going to be somebody there with a kid, and that kid is going to be crying. The kid is going to be throwing a tantrum. It's because the parent is not that smart and they have overstimulated their child. So that's another thing. A lot of parents, they project their own personality onto the child. So the mom is thinking, oh, well, I like going to concerts. I like going out to the coffee shop every day. So like, why can't little Johnny come with me? Then they try to force their kids to come to all these random places that are really adult types of places. So they're forcing the kid to come against their will. They're over here pushing a baby in a stroller when it's 90 degrees outside, and then they're shocked when the baby starts crying. You know, they get shocked when the child is in a bad mood. Or they try to give the child like a random coloring book or something, or they give the child an iPad. And it's like, okay, first of all, you're training the child that toys and iPads are the solution to every problem. So that's already not a good parenting strategy, but you're not actually communicating with the child. Most mothers are actually very bad at communicating with their own children. They're bad at communicating with their own children because they're bad at communicating with themselves. So it's like if that mother is not self-aware, of course she can't teach her daughter how to be self-aware. If she doesn't even know how to communicate in a relationship or with herself, of course she's not going to have good communication skills with the child. And I see a lot of people kind of pressuring women into having children because a lot of people stereotype being a mother with being more mature. Like, oh, it takes a lot of maturity to raise a child. Okay, but just because it takes maturity to raise a child, it doesn't mean that being a mother makes you mature. In fact, children actually bring out the worst in you. Like, look up studies about what it's like to be around a teenager, what it's like to be around a toddler. Why do they call it the terrible twos? Why are so many people afraid to be in the house with a teenager? Well, it's because they're not emotionally ready to deal with the outbursts of a teenager. I know that a lot of people, they only like when the baby can't talk. So they like newborn babies. They think it's cute, and they're basically objectifying babies. That's another thing. A lot of women who say, oh, we're going to have such cute babies, or I want to have a baby because I want to see what it'll look like. Or those women who chase after certain men who are attractive and then they want to like have a baby with him. It's because they are objectifying the baby. They're objectifying their own child. How mentally ill do you have to be to objectify your own child? So that's how I know that they're dehumanizing their own babies, because it's like, oh, I just want to have this child because they're going to look cute. Or, you know, those women that are insecure about their own physical appearance. And so they want to have children that look nothing like them because that's a symbol of status for them. Because they feel like, look at me. I was able to wash out all of my ethnic features by having this mixed baby. You know, I was able to create a baby that's more attractive than me because this baby is light skinned. This baby's biracial. So, you know, those types of women. And it's like, okay, you're literally objectifying the baby. You're viewing the baby as like a pet or something. It's kind of like you're looking at the baby as a cute puppy dog. And a child is not a puppy dog. A child is not a status symbol. So that's another issue that I've noticed a lot of women have. They are literally using babies as a status symbol. They're fetishizing these babies. They're comparing their baby to other babies and saying, oh, so and so down the street, she has an ugly baby. My baby's cute and has pretty eyes. And, my baby's superior to all the other babies because my baby's cuter. And it's like, do you hear yourself? That is a future adult that you're holding in your arms right now. That is not somebody that you use as some way to one up another person. So that's how I know that some women are literally using babies as a social stepping stool. They're using their baby as a stepping stone. Don't even get me started on the women who force their children into the industry. So they will have these babies. They'll go out of their way. They'll have attractive babies. And then they will try to force that child to become a pageant queen or become Beyonce or become Michael Jackson, or, they'll see a talent or a gift that the child has. Then they want to exploit that gift in the child, or they want to pressure the child to become the breadwinner for the family when that child is 5 years old, 10 years old. So you'll see a lot of family YouTubers doing this. Like, the people where they wouldn't have as many views on their channel if they didn't show their baby, or, the people where it's like they try to teach their baby to behave a certain way to get attention, and then the parent is out here collecting the donations. The parents of child actors where it's like they take all the money from the child. Okay, so they were utilizing their child as a free slave. That's essentially why they had the child. So they wanted to have that child so they could exploit that child's gifts and talents. So that's another crazy ass reason to have a child. That's not normal to me. That's not a mentally healthy way to view a child. Because it's like, okay, so you're telling me that you failed at recognizing your own gifts. You failed at using your skills so that you could attain wealth or status. And so because you failed at doing it yourself, now you want to randomly birth this child that didn't ask to be born. And then you want to try to pressure them into fulfilling your lifestyle needs. And that's not fair, because every child has the right to use their gifts however they want to, or to not use them. So it's like, what if little Johnny, what if he didn't want to be an actor? What if this little kid did not want to be in a pageant? Now they have no choice because their parents are kind of grooming them. Oh, that's another thing. Parenting is grooming. It is naturally a form of brainwashing. I don't care what anybody says. I think that when people think about brainwashing, they only think about like the negative side of brainwashing. No, technically when you're parenting, you are grooming in a way. You are brainwashing in a way. You are training, that's why they say you're training the child. Yeah, training it to do what? Whatever you want the child to do. So some women are only having babies because they want to be able to psychologically control another human being. So it's almost like they're having a baby as a psychological experiment, which I think is actually very sick and demented. It's like you're having a baby as a psychological experiment because you want to test yourself. You want to see how far you can push that child. You want to see how good your parenting skills are and what you can train that child to become. So that's also very weird and twisted to me, because it's like, okay, why would I view another human being as my guinea pig? That's what a lot of women are doing. They're literally viewing their child as a psychological guinea pig. So that's why you see those parents where it's like, okay, maybe they start off giving their kid whoopings. Okay, the whoopings don't work. So now let me try the punishment where it's like I ground the child. Okay, now let me try taking away the TV and taking away the phone. Okay, that didn't work. Let me switch up my style again and try to do some other psychological tactic to brainwash this child to behave how I want him to behave. Okay, that's extremely weird. That's psychological control. And it's like, if you're that good at psychology, if you truly were knowledgeable about psychology and how the mind works and how to develop someone, if you were truly that good at self-development and improvement and basically life coaching, because that's essentially what parents are. Parents are like your natural life coach when you're a child. So if you were that good at that, you would have been able to do it for yourself. So it's like, sis, if it's already been 35 years and you can't figure it out for yourself, or you're still figuring it out, having a child and trying to use them as your psychological guinea pig, that is extremely tormenting to the child. Have you ever been around someone where their parent is very hot and cold? And some of you guys might have been raised by parents like this. Maybe your mom or dad had a very hot and cold relationship with you. They had a very hot and cold personality type. So depending on how you behave, basically their love was conditional. And this is another thing. A lot of people, they love saying that, oh, a child's love is unconditional and the way I love my child is unconditional. I'll always love that child. Okay, so if that were really true, then you would still be treating the child well no matter how the child acts, which I don't recommend, by the way, because that's actually unhealthy for the parent at that point. Because now your 10-year-old gets to run the house. Now your teenager gets to run the house. So it's really a lose-lose situation. So that's part of why I don't have kids, because I feel like there are so many loopholes in parenting. There are so many flaws in parenting. There's no such thing as a perfect parenting style. So no matter what, I am going to mess up somehow if I were to have a child. So why would I put an innocent human being through turmoil because I didn't know how to parent that child? That's not fair. That's not fair to the child. So it's like, no, I'm not going to bring a child into this world to suffer. And that's another thing too. I always wonder when it comes to moms, I'm like, why did you bring a baby into this earth? This ghetto ass earth with all the isms going on, all the racism, colorism, textures, and features, this economy, men, if you have a little girl, she's going to get SA'd. She's most likely going to be SA'd. If you have a little boy, he's most likely going to be exploited for his labor. He's most likely going to be dominated and subjugated by another man. He's most likely going to face physical violence. So it's like, why would I bring an innocent child into this world to suffer in all of those different ways? And that's another thing too. Some parents, they think that they will do a better job at kind of controlling the environment of the child, because they'll be like, oh, well, I'm going to shelter my child, or I'm going to raise my child in private school. I'm going to homeschool my child. Okay, but then you've got the other problems now that come with that. I grew up sheltered, so I know what it's like to spend your whole life in private school and to be in the suburbs and you're only around rich people. And I know what that's like. So even that has its flaws, because now you go into the real world and you're very naive. You're easily able to be taken advantage of. Like if you have this mindset that humans are inherently good, now it's very easy for a narcissist to come in and take advantage of you. So you're basically raising that child to become a victim of narcissistic abuse by teaching your child toxic positivity, which a lot of Christian families go through. This is why a lot of people in the Christian communities, they're easily scammed and stuff, or like their child will come from this Christian environment and then they'll go off to college or something, and then they end up going buck wild and crazy because part of it has to do with the culture shock that child is going through. Essentially, a lot of the things that the parents taught them has been a lie. So telling your child, hey, humans are naturally good, and there's a little bit of God in everybody, and the Holy Spirit is going to protect you, and God will never put you through something that you can't bear. So they're teaching their little girls this, and then if the girl grows up, she goes to college or something, let's say she gets SA'd, now she's got these underlying messages of, oh, well, it's not that bad, because, God would never put me through something I can't bear. So it's like, no matter what way you choose to parent your child, there are always flaws in it. I don't care if you raise the child Christian, if you raise them non-religious, if they were raised in the hood, if they're raised in the suburb, no matter what, there is no fail-proof way of parenting. So that's another reason that I'm not having a child, because it's like, why would I randomly go through this knowing that I'm going to suffer, knowing that the child is going to suffer? Why would I choose suffering? Why would I volunteer for suffering? But anyway, what do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section, and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.